Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Terrell here with rotopros.com, dfsr.com, and my Patreon page, patreon.com/jagerbombs. We are here to talk some DFS NASCAR for the Big Machine Hand Sanitizer 400 or the Brickyard 400, which sounds just so much better at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How are you doing, Dane?
Doing good, ready to go. Sadly, I don't think we'll see an exciting of a race as we did yesterday with Xfinity, but hopefully it'll be something similar.
That was sure something. That was an awesome race. Like throughout the whole race, and then the closing laps where Briscoe kind of lost the lead and kind of fell back, and then who else was up front? Cindric and Allmendinger were kind of going against each other, and then Briscoe got it back. Oh, it was awesome. Yeah,
I thought those were for sure the best two cars, Allmendinger and Cindric. And when they got out front, I was like, maybe they'll battle for the win. But then I think them battling each other let Briscoe back in. He made a great move there going into the first turn. So
and I think Allmendinger would have been more of a player in that whole race had he not got that penalty. I think that was in the early stages, or no, that was the middle of the second stage. Actually, he was working his way up. He was like seventh or eighth at the time. Took that penalty and ended up having to go back. So it was definitely an exciting race. We're not on the road course today. We're on the traditional Indy 400-mile race, 160 laps. What are some things, traditionally we've had one race here last year with that new rules package. Kevin Harvick absolutely dominated it. Do you see that sort of domination again this year, or kind of how are you looking at the dominator thing this race?
I just kind of think, again, with the competition caution, we've seen it a lot. It just mixes a lot of things up. And one thing we talked about a little bit pre-show is there's not a lot of passing here, and it's almost lends itself to a boring race. And if you think back, Charlotte is kind of similar to that, and you see a lot of people taking some different strategies to get track position, like I think Alex Bowman did at one of the Charlotte races after this restart. And with no practice and everything, I don't think that we see one guy dominate the entire race. I think we could see it shake up a little bit early on if somebody pits and then some behind stay out or vice versa or whatever it may be. But I don't think we see one
Lost
person
your sound there, Dane.
dominate. So for me, I'm going one to
Oh,
two
I just can't
dominators.
hear you. So it's just me. I think the show everyone else can definitely hear you, so I'll try and get that figured. I don't really know what happened there. I just all of a sudden just boom, you were gone. So just give me a second here.
Yeah, so I'm
I
going one
agree
to
with
two
you. I guess
dominators
I'll
this
get
week.
you to answer a couple questions for me while I'm trying to get you back so I can freaking hear you. So first of all, Newman or McDowell for cash was one question, and then thoughts on Kenseth and Truex. I'll let you go on that, and then I'll provide mine here in just a second.
Let's see. So Newman was a guy that I was hoping would. I came into the day thinking maybe I'd go a little underweight on him if he's going to be super high owned. Starting 14th, I think the more as well. So Kenseth is a at 7,900 21st is a definitely a tournament play for me. Truex, he struggled a little bit here, and I think where I ultimately come in is I like some of the people around him more. You can always play him certainly, but I just think I like some of the guys around him, either whether that's getting up to Harvick or playing guys like Hamlin, Blaney, Logano.
Okay. Yeah, looking at the top this week, I am, like I talked about it in my core plays video yesterday. Harvick and Hamlin are definitely 1-2 for me. Harvick won this race, dominated last year, and I kind of left you off of the part I didn't hear. Was kind of looking at last year. The last thing I heard you kind of talk about was you don't think it's going to be a one dominator race, and I 100% agree with that. I think it's more like 2018. I think we had four drivers lead 20 plus laps, and like none of them led 50. I kind of see two drivers maybe, and Hamlin and Harvick are those picks for me, going out and leading say 40 plus each, but not really getting into that 100 barrier. But I do see three or four leading over 20, and kind of a balanced mix, throughout the race. We may see Logano lead some early, 20 to 30 laps early, but I think Harvick and Hamlin lead the most laps and end up, I think they're both definitely top three candidates for the price. And then just having Bell, that was one thing. I'm not sure if you talked about Bell there quick, but just seeing that price is just, this is the not second race in a row, because Pocono 1, he was the top price guy. Pocono 2, his price came back down because of the way the qualifying was. But he paid off at his 11,000 price tag at Pocono 1. He also paid off his price tag, I believe it was Homestead, where he was like 9,500. I just don't see it this week. There's a lot that has to go right for him here. He's looking at a 10th place finish is 60 points, and that would be fine, but I just don't see him. That's like high end finish for him. I think he's more in that 15th to 20th, like 20th place finish. You're looking at 39 points. I just don't think that's near enough for 11.5 when Harvick, if we think he's going to lead, around 50 laps, a top 5 for him is 58 right there, and that's not counting the fast laps. So definitely Harvick and Hamlin for me. The other guy was Kenseth that was mentioned there. 7,900 seems very cheap for him. He's in good equipment, not the same equipment he's had the track history with, but it was still really good equipment in that 42 car this week. 12th in his last start here in 2018, but before that he was a top 5 machine at this track, and he is starting 21st. So like even a 10th place finish has given him 45 points. At that $7,900 price tag. I'd even take a top 15, like 35 points at $7,900. That's kind of the floor, I guess, we're looking at for him. So I definitely like that there. And then, not sure, I'm really interested to hear, I'm going to ask you again what you think of Truex. I think he's going to be lower owned here for sure. Was he someone that was going to be in your player pool?
I'm leaning towards not.
Okay.
I think I just like the people around him. Like you said, Hamlin and Harvick are my two favorites as well. The guy that I think is going to get some ownership just because he is on the pole is Logano. And I was coming into the day, I mentioned right before the show, I had a few guys that I was a little tilted about when I started doing some more research. And Logano was a guy that I wanted to be underweight on. And then I got to playing around with some of the builds, and it just lands right on him. So I don't know if I'll end up with him or not, but I do want to be underweight due to the competition caution, and I think he is going to get a lot of ownership. I think we could see some strategy and some guys overtake him. I think he will lead the first 12 laps because the competition caution, 12 laps is going to come fairly quickly for us. So I do want to kind of be underweight, but if I land on him in my main build, I might end up there if I love the rest of my lineup. The other guy that he was in my article, this is a value guy that I was super disappointed when I started reading a little bit more. I think Bob Pockris tweeted out to somebody who asked the same question. Ross Chastain apparently doesn't have any Chip Ganassi funding. So that's an update from my article. I loved him starting 32nd.
Me too.
He was pretty decent. Yeah, he was pretty decent last two times he was here with Premium Motorsports. But if he has no funding, that's the car. I mean, that's a 30th place car. So there are so many other plays right around him that I don't think I can play any Chastain if he's not going to have the same type of funding and equipment that he had at Charlotte at the Coke 600. That was basically a Chip Ganassi car provided by Chip Ganassi for that team. So he's pretty much X'd out for me this week.
And then the other question on here so far is Eric Jones or William Byron. Byron's starting 18th. Jones is starting 23rd. Jones is $600 cheaper. I've got Jones highlighted. I don't have Byron highlighted as of now. I might have some exposure to Byron if I was in that 20, excuse me, to 30 lineup build, but I'm kind of going a couple 3 max builds this week. So it's Jones over Byron for me, and I'm kind of looking at, like I said, he's starting 23rd. He hasn't been great here. I believe he crashed out last year, but he was second, so he did show some upside here in 2018, but 30th in 2017 in his first race here. So I think we may get him a little bit lower owned just because his price is so close to Logano. Boyer, who I really like, back-to-back top fives here. He's got that place differential this week, so I'm definitely looking at Boyer, Harvick, and Hamlin as like a core 3. I'll run quite a bit in lineups, but Eric Jones for me over Byron. What say you?
I'm Byron over Jones. I think Byron. I know it's a touch bit of a different price point, but if I am able to fall on a lineup or that I get up into the upper 8K range, I like Byron a lot more. I think he will be. I think he'll be lower on than Jones, especially in single entries or 3 maxes, which I'm doing the same thing playing that this week. Byron was 4th and 19th in his 2 appearances here. I just like him more than Jones. Jones is hit or miss, isn't he?
Yep.
And his
Especially
back
here.
history completely shows that. So he's been a guy we've been on a lot when he was completely underpriced in the 6 and 7K range. But I think I'm a little bit off of him this week. I might still play him in a couple, but I like Byron more. And
So does my model,
for that matter.
My model loves Byron way more than Jones, so I'm completely going against my model in saying that I'm going to have more Jones than Byron. So, so you and my model agree. So, who was asking that question? Jeremy, or no? Jeremy's asking Newman or Custer for cash. So that's one thing I had in my notes to talk about was Newman's price. I know he's starting 14th, and that's not great for place differential, but 5,900 for Ryan Newman. He's coming back here with an 8th, 10th, and 3rd in his last 3 races. He's finished 11th or better in 7 of his last 8. He won here 7 races ago. Like, it just, even if he finishes, the way I broke it down was looking at him, if he finishes at his starting spot at 14th, that is 30 points. That's 5x return. If he finishes 14th right where he starts, that's 5x return. I will take that at 5,900. 5x return, if we get that across our lineup, we're going to be looking pretty good at the end of the day. So I think he's even got that, like he's shown us, maybe not winning upside anymore, but he's definitely got that top 5 upside here at this track. That gives him 48, upwards of 40 to 48 points upside. I'm definitely on Ryan Newman, and he's the guy I'm looking at. I would take over Custer if you're playing cash games. Even in GPPs, I'll take Newman over Custer.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was at this morning with Chastain is the one I wanted to play over him, and I was going to be comfortable with that in tournaments, taking that shot and being underweight on Newman, and that's kind of the third thing I was tilted about was Newman. But 5,900 I thought was insanely cheap, and he's going to get ownership at starting 14th. I was planning on taking the chance with guys like Chastain and Priest over him. I think Priest is going to be chalk too anyway, but Newman. Now without Chastain there, I think Newman, you can play Newman and Priest and then get in 2 guys up top that you like. And like you said, the more you play with it on the matrix and things, you can really see that a 14th place finish is, I think, equal to like a 25th maybe from Priest. So I think top 10 and top 10th and 20th place from each of them is almost identical as well, which I think is basically their range of outcomes.
Oh, I would be thrilled with the 20th place finish from Ryan Priest. That's 40 points. Like, that's what are we, 40 divided?
And that's like 9th place for Newman.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, both completely doable. So you're looking at 40 divided by 5.8.
I think you can play both of them. So if you want to put them both in the same lineup, or you just want one, and then the pivot off of that, which is Custer for me. He's in Stewart Haas equipment. Harvick's been good here. I think Custer can He was decent in Xfinity here, not great but decent. If you look back at some of these rookies in Xfinity, they were awful. They wrecked out most of their races. I think Reddick ran 3 or 4 races here and wrecked out in all but one. Um, I think Custer ran 3 and he completed 2 of 3. So maybe
Yeah.
this is not a rookie track. So
No, it always seems like you look at the tops of these, like at the top of the leaderboard, thinking golf again here. But, you see a lot of experience. The guys that kind of get through, like we got Kenseth, we got Newman, we talked about with track history. All the guys that are, very consistent here are your veteran drivers. Like even Kyle Busch isn't very consistent here. He's more up and down GPP kind of play because he can either crash out or win. And especially now with his form, more GPP only. But yeah, definitely an experienced driver's track. And I agree with you with Newman and Priest are my favorite value plays under that 6,500 range, just because like we talked about using the fantasy matrix. I'll even take Priest. We're looking at that kind of 5x return that we talked about. Priest gets that 5x return at only a 25th place finish. I think that's definitely doable. What did he do here? He was 16th here last year. I don't think that's kind of his high end upside. That's where I've got his upside, but it is doable. We've seen him do it. But I think he's more of a 20th to 25th, and I'll take any of that range, 30 to 40 points. I will take that from Priest. And looking at that, that's a pick I'm looking at on Prize Picks today too. He is down. He's the lowest ranked or projected scoring driver, which is 17 points, and that equals I'm just going to look at the fantasy scoring chart to see what that over under entails. So 17 points is a 24th place finish. So it's pretty much saying if you're betting the over points on him, you need a 23rd or better. So I definitely like the over on him. That's going to be one of my Prize Picks plays today. Any other questions? Does Michael McDowell get it? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we got a couple. I think Jason was wanting to know about Joey, and I do want to touch on that one more time. I do think that's why he's still in my pool. I think he can lead laps, probably as many as you got him projected for. 40, I believe, is what you have on the matrix. So he can do that and finish top 5 for sure. Where I'm at is I think Blaney is, if I can get Blaney in there, I think he's a better tournament play than Logano. Starting 12th, he has a little bit of place differential upside. And if you compare them, and say Blaney don't even lead any laps and Logano leads 40, I still think he can outscore him, finish in top 5 if Logano doesn't.
It's a great idea. Yeah,
he finishes ahead of Logano, I think is all he has to do really. So, and and Blaney has the upside to lead laps. So that's where I'm at with that one.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on there. Even with Logano leading 40, a 5th place finish is 45 points. That's a 6th place finish from Ryan Blaney leading 0 laps, and I think Blaney leads some or gets some fast laps in there. And
yeah,
I think I may be a little high just with the competition caution on Logano's dominator points. That's kind of on the high end. I think maybe that would be if he gets into that. What is it? 12 laps? You said competition caution.
Yeah.
Yeah, so get into that 12 laps. He's got if he can get out front again, I think he can get out and lead up until, possibly the end of the stage. That's kind of his upside there. But if he doesn't do that, if you don't think he leads like more than 20 laps, I think Blaney is most definitely the play there. I definitely agree with you. The only reason I got Logano over Blaney is because I think Logano does get those laps led, but it is very, very close in that decision. But I agree with you that he would go with Blaney. In that range, I definitely like Boyer better just because he's been consistent here lately. He's been really good on the the Pocono and Indy. I kind of got together as your track type because it's the 2.5 mile flat tracks. His form wasn't great. We talked about that going into Pocono last weekend. He fixed that form at Pocono on the 2.5 flat at Pocono, the tricky triangle, with an 8th and a 7th place finish. I think that top 10 form can come back here. He's got back-to-back top 5s, like I said. If he finishes top 5 with no laps led, he's at 56 fantasy points, while those other guys are looking at about 45 or 46 with those laps led. And if I take Logano down to even 20, For Logano to get the win with 20 laps led, that's 51 points, and Bowyer only needs that with an 8th place finish with no laps led. So Bowyer's definitely my favorite, then Logano, then Blaney, but it's very close between Logano and Blaney for the reasons that we talked about there.
And don't you think Logano's going to have more ownership than both?
Yes, I do.
So I'm definitely leaning towards the other two.
Yeah, you got me going. You do this every show with one or two drivers that in the same range where I'm high on one, and you get me going on the other guys, and it's worked out. I'll give you that. It's worked out. So I say thank you. Jason says he thinks Kyle Busch is going to win. He's definitely due. Last week, that was really unfortunate. He was having a darn good race. He was one of the fastest cars on the track. Blaney, that lap car came in, slowed him down a bit. He had to brake a little bit. Blaney just came in and just powered and crushed him there. Usually when you get a mad Kyle Busch and he comes back the next week, he can surprise. I think people are going to avoid him just simply because Harvick and Hamlin are such great plays. I even like Elliott more than Kyle Busch here as well, and even to a point Keselowski, or even going down to, like we said, the Bowyer, Logano, Blaney range. So I think Kyle kind of gets some low ownership here. He's 4th in pricing, so GPP, I'm on board. He won back-to-back races here, and I think 15 and 16, so I'm on board with that.
Yeah, if I had more lineups, I would definitely get there, but I think I'm on Hamlin and guys around him a little bit more.
With that, pull off a little hat change here, a little wardrobe change mid-show. Bell worth the price. Yeah, Jason talked about Bell. I was on him early in the week just thinking, he paid off that Pocono 1 price. I don't see him like I talked about earlier. I think he's more of a high-end 15th place finish this week, so I'm not... Oh, there's my calculator again, just popping up, trying to figure out value on the video. Yeah, so 15th place finish, we're looking at 49 points. 49 points at 11.5 is only 4.3x, and that's just not going to get us there. Like Harvick leading, if he leads 50 laps, we're getting that same score to him from only a 9th, 10th place finish. Harvick, to me, has top 5, 60-plus point upside. I just don't see it for Bell this week. I think this is one of those weeks where he is finally overpriced. I agreed with the Pocono 1 price just because of where he was and how well he's done there. But I don't see it here. Like you talked about rookies at this track in the Xfinity Series. I was going to check and see what he did in the Xfinity Series here at this track.
I pulled that up actually. He started 2 years ago. He finished 7th, and then last year he wrecked out, finished 29th.
So even
it's not awful, but it's not like I'm running to the window to play.
It's not like he's coming in with top 3 finishes, podium finishes, and 2 straight in the Xfinity Series, and then just jumps into here. So he had trouble at one, and the other one he started 7th, finished 7th, so he didn't really push that top 5 at all. So not seeing that he's been up front in the and seeing that we talked about veteran drivers, I don't see that price tag this week. If he was maybe in the even in the mid 9K range, kind of high 8K range like he was Pocono 2, I'd probably consider it him starting 35th. But even with that place differential this week, we need a top 10 finish from him, and I just don't see it. So that's where I've settled on Bell. I think it's definitely, if you want to be crazy and go GPP in one of your 20 lineups, pivoting off Harvick and maybe going to Bell. It seems crazy, but if Harvick was to wreck out and Bell does somehow finish with the top 10, I think you're golden there at probably 5 to 8% ownership in GPP. But I'm just not going to be there in my 3 for sure. And then next would be Stenhouse.
De Benedetto, he was decent here. De Benedetto was decent here last year if you look at the finish, but according to Fantasy Racing Cheat Sheet, he was 26th in green lap speed last year. So he outperformed, his finish position outperformed what he did for the entire race. If Bell has another 20th place car, he's not paying off for you.
Yeah, De Benedetto, going back to that's excellent data. Yeah, I was just looking at average run position. He was 22nd, finished 18th. And he only had 12 quality passes the whole race, while other guys, you're looking at everyone from like 14th and up has 15 plus, and almost all of them have 20, 25, 30, 40 quality passes, and he only had 12. So that's one thing I definitely look at on the track history detailed portion is digging into exactly what you just said, not just looking at where a driver finished, but how they ran throughout the race, how their passing was going. You can kind of get a feel of how their car was. So they're not passing a lot of guys. They have a lower average running position than their finish. Tells you a lot about the car and how they ran. Vice versa, you can also see a guy that maybe finishes outside the top 20 that averaged running position of 15th or 10th to 15th and maybe got caught up or something. So what we're trying to just say is dig in a little more than just looking at the average finish positions. That's why I added the track history detailed, so that you don't just look at the track history grid, last 10 races, and look at finishes, but you can also go look at that kind of data as well. So your thoughts on Ricky Stenhouse? He's not in my player pool right now. The price is down low 7K, but he's like wrecked out of this race outside the top 30 in 4 of the last 5. He's terrible here. I have zero interest.
Yeah, I don't either. He's always that guy that can surprise at low ownership, starting back where he is, starting 24th. But this is not a track that I'm going to be playing him at.
No, not at all. That's kind of in that same range. Ty Dillon, I talked about the guys 65 and under, Newman and Priest being my favorite. Ty Dillon is one of my favorite plays at 6,800 as well. He's finished 13th, 21st, and 19th in his 3 trips to this track. He hasn't been great on the track type, 23.6 average finish, but he's starting 29th, so even a 20th to 25th place finish for him. Just gonna zip over to the matrix here real quick. So a 20th place finish is 33 points. That's kind of, I think we need like a top like 23rd or better from him, but top 20, 15th to 20th would be definitely enough to hit that value that I'm looking for. And he starts 5 places back from Stenhouse, so that just seems like an easy switch play for me. Even Almirola at 200 more, starting 5th, I'd like for GPP. I think Almirola's got top 5 upside. That's right around that 40-plus points. Maybe get some fast laps in there, maybe a couple laps led. Who knows with Almirola? He's kind of been starting up front a lot lately, so it's not out of the cards to think that he could be a great play as well. So with Ty Dillon and Almirola there, and even Kenseth under that 8K that we started the show off talking about a lot, 0 Stenhouse for me. Any other guys?
You want to know how excited I was to play Ross Chastain today? I had the watermelon drink just all teed up for it.
Run to the grocery store, get yourself a watermelon, get ready to smash it. But yeah,
and I think he's in a watermelon car today. So
I think so.
I was so excited, and he just completely wrecked my drink. So.
Do you have any interest in Chris Buescher right there in that range with all those value guys that we talked about? I'm kind of up and down on him. I've highlighted him, unhighlighted him. I can't really get a core feel. He probably won't make my 3 maxes, but I do have him right now as a GPP play.
Yeah, he's not going to make it for me, and it's hard to see. We can't go back really to see what that car did here because Stenhouse was driving it and wrecked out so many times. So, I don't think he's going to make it for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. Kurt Busch. Someone had asked me about him earlier. I'm not on Kurt Busch this week myself. Actually, the actual statement someone had presented me was, I think Kurt Busch is due for a top 5. I am off that theory simply because he hasn't had a top 5 here in any of the last 10 races, and that's a 10-year span. He's only had 1 top 5 here in 19 career races. He has 0 top 5s or top 10s in the last 5 2.5-mile flat tracks. And looking at the current form, he's only got 2 top 5s in the last 11 races. And starting second, we definitely need a top 5 for him. Easy fade for me.
Yeah.
He will now win, by the way. He will now win.
Cue the Kurt Busch win. But...
Victory lane. Yeah, this track's just not.
If that happens, oh well.
Exactly. If shit goes down and Harvick Hamlin crash out or something like that, or have mechanical trouble or get penalties, and somehow Kurt Busch ends up winning this race, that's fine. Over the the long term, if we were to race this race 10 times, Kurt Busch isn't going to finish top 5, probably twice. So I'll just play the odds there with him. There's other guys that I like in that range, and my player pool is pretty small this week, so that's the direction I'm going.
Yeah, not his jam. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. So that kind of covers all the questions here. I'm just going to scroll back up and see See if we missed anything. No, I think that kind of looks good. So we're going to go build some lineups. You join us in the chat if you have any questions. The Roto Pros Slack chat, me and Dane are in there up until lock and even after, talking some ownership and stuff like that. Answering all your questions. We'll be providing our skeletons, 4 driver skeletons for you as well. GPP Cash, FanDuel. I'm going to be in my Patreon chat as well. I've got Prize Picks plays, FanDuel, and DraftKings as well. All my core plays will be in there, and DFSR.com. I will be in that chat there as well. So I'm going to be busy leading up to lock here. This usually happens every week where I say I'm going to limit it to 3 to 6 lineups, play a couple 3 maxes. Probably end up going about 20 to 30 by because I think we have lots of time here. I think we got about 3.5 hours till the race. So good luck trying to limit your lineup exposure this week. Oh, before we go, either of the Dillons in play. I talked about Ty Dillon. He's in my core plays. I like where he's starting. Looking at about a 15th to 20th place finish from him. Austin Dillon is where he's starting. I am a fade. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. Same.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Jake. McDowell, I have Andy. I've got McDowell as a value play, but he is probably 4th or 5th in line in that range in terms of value plays. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Like I said, hit us up in chat if you got any more questions. Comment on the video. I'll make sure to reply to everything. Like and subscribe, and let's go get some green screens. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck.